Buck, it's really good to get back together with you and to really resume our chat. It's been a while, and I certainly look forward
I
to
know.
today.
I'm excited too because we had a good run, and last couple of months both of us got busy with whatever. But it's good to be back.
Excellent. Well, welcome. I've been reading and hearing so much about ChatGPT. It's been in the market. It's been in the media. I've attended conferences, and the subject comes up. And I think it's really important that we use this as an opportunity to talk to our audience about some of the thoughts and ideas of where we see ChatGPT trending from a fintech perspective. Why fintechs, what they need to do to lean in,
Yep.
and obviously just some of the facts that and forecasts that have been evolving. From a technologist, from your perspective, Buck, where do you see the reality versus the hype? Because obviously, some of the things that we've been reading and our listeners have been reading, that there potentially could be seen as a lot of hype that's in the media about where ChatGPT is trending and where it's going. But from your perspective, what do you see?
Yeah, always a good question, Wayne. And as usual, it is in the hype cycle, no question about that. But if you look at the word chat GPT, maybe it's a new cycle, whether you call it a hype cycle or reality cycle, it's a new cycle relatively. But if you look at AI as a foundation, then it has been in the cycle for who knows, about 30, 35 years now. In which case, whether it is still in hype cycle or has it reached reality or has it died away, it's a difficult question to answer. But hype very much because you remember when 6, 8 months ago, I'm sure you and me also used that word 10 times a day, and others probably used it 100 times a day, and that was metaverse. You remember the word?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody thought that metaverse is the new life, and companies got renamed, and everybody pivoted, and all kinds of things. How often do you use the word metaverse today? Did you use that word since morning?
No, not at all.
Right. So that's what it is. ChatGPT. I personally like it, no question about it. But I cannot say that it is here to stay and so on because so many such prognostications have come to, ruin. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we can focus on the more positive side that what can people do with it? That's more important. And if people really start doing good stuff, then maybe it will stay. It's up to us.
Yeah. But it's interesting, Buck. I facilitated a panel last month,
Mhm.
and the subject was AI in financial services. And so, in preparation for that panel discussion, I was doing some research, and there was a soundbite that was in Forbes that mentioned that over 500,000 jobs alone are going to be replaced by ChatGPT. I have to remember if the soundbite was United States or globally, probably United States. But interestingly enough, some may look at that to be a high number that will be replaced, that their jobs could actually be replaced. And one of the area that we talked about is to get the audience consensus on if they believe that ChatGPT is hype or reality. And when we took the survey, most of the people believed that it really is reality, and they need to lean in. Now, the question is, they don't. Many are still trying to understand what the impact is, or potentially could be on their job, or how it's going to impact and change their lifestyle. A lot of things are just uncertain, but the important thing is leaning in to better understand what's happening and really what the trajectory looks like. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, various things have been said, Wayne, about jobs and how different technologies are going to take them away or they are going to create new jobs, all kinds of things we have. The jobs will change. That's all I know. The jobs will morph into something else. Because whether you lose a job or whether you create a new job is somewhat difficult to quantify. But if you don't change your skill set, if you don't morph into something new, then the job is going to go away. ChatGPT is there or not.
Right.
That's the reality. I mean, look at it very simply, right? Let us look at our own IT industry. One of the biggest costs and problem areas, more than cost, or as important as cost, is finding people to do IT security administration. Right? You have got a brilliant computer scientist and he comes up with a great product, and you have got a big algorithm to do a lot of stuff. become very secure and so on and so forth. But somebody has to collect the logs, somebody has to store the logs, aggregation, review, monitoring, alerting. There is a whole slew of activities that one needs to perform for that tool to actually do its job. And that what we can typically call the perspiration part. You know, the perspiration part is the hard one, and tools like ChatGPT have always tried to eliminate them to bring more efficiency and cost reduction to the entire business cycle. Now, can that happen? Yes. If you ask me whether ChatGPT can do a whole lot of monitoring and alerting rather than an army of people sitting there in some security operations center, the answer is yes, no question about it. It can do a much better job.
Hmm. Well, then if that's the case, then there could be potentially viewed as some concern that ChatGPT could replace
Yes.
a workforce.
So from that perspective, and who will lose the job? I mean, forget about the human part, the politics, the corporate games, forget about all that. But in a real sense, who will lose the job? Who did not figure out how do they coexist with something like ChatGPT and morph into a new role? People who cannot do that are definitely going to lose the job. But like I keep saying, that has been happening for as long as human organization has been there. So maybe it is happening for last 1,000 years. So nothing new that is happening only because of ChatGPT, right?
Hmm. So based on what you're saying, Buck, you see this as the natural progression
Mhm.
of technology and workforce combined. I remember back in my history lessons, right? You looked at the cotton gin and what the cotton gin had to do with kind of automation and how
Exactly.
automation
Exactly.
had a big impact on a workforce that was primarily manual. And so looking at technology or automation and how it just changed the landscape and caused a different type of demand, right? So then there was a need for access to workforce to kind of manage that piece of technology or automation.
Absolutely.
So do you see that kind of happening today
It's
with ChatGPT that maybe there could be a displacement, but yet you're also going to need more skills to kind of how you're going to manage this in the trajectory of where it
how
is.
do you differentiate yourself from? I mean, when we have done that all our life, right? In fact,
Right.
you took a brilliant example. So let us continue with that for a moment. Machines came, so a lot of textile workers lost their job. I agree with that point. But that exactly is the point in the history of industry that gave rise to jobs like spinning master and weaving master and ginning master and so on, which were probably the highest paid jobs of that era.
Yeah.
Right? So it is going to work both ways. And one big change, but I will probably put it on the record here, is that so far, people who had a creative component to their work, like artists or people who write content or people who create logos and color schemes and all that stuff, they were probably thinking or they were told by experts that they are immune from the job losses that technology can cause. In ChatGPT, I will say that that is probably not true now. ChatGPT can take even creative jobs away if you are not careful.
Okay. Okay. So, and that's going to be a big change, right? Because usually you think of technology, it's the technology related jobs that are going to change. But
Exactly.
now you
The
have
ones
these
that are
tools.
mechanical, the ones that are process oriented, the ones
That's
that are
right.
logic oriented, we thought that technology can take those away, but technology can now take the creative ones also. I mean, you can go right now and ask ChatGPT that, hey, I got a new customer and he does this business. So based on his territory, based on his business line, based on his customer profile, can you design a graphic logo for him?
Mhm.
And it will do it for you in a fraction of a second.
Right. That's right. So that's a key point and a really a good use case. So Buck, in conclusion, where do you think things are trending and how do you think or what do you think the impact of ChatGPT is going to have on our listeners that are focused on fintech? Should they be concerned? Should they lean in? Is there anything that they need to be aware of as we see this continuing to progress and evolve?
Yeah, they definitely need to be concerned on two, three important areas that I keep talking about all the time. So maybe you are tired of it now. But first is they must verify that they have indeed a business case for ChatGPT. because especially, startups, younger kids who are doing some good work, they sometimes have this, I don't know what word to use, maybe some kind of compulsion that they must pivot every 6 months.
Yes.
And my advice to them is that they don't need to pivot at all. If they know what they're doing and if it is working, just stay on it, right? I mean, I'm not saying don't pivot, but I'm saying that make sure that you really need to pivot.
That's
Okay,
true.
that is one. Just because ChatGPT is a big word, you don't need to necessarily insert that into your investor deck because
Yeah.
you just want to tell your investor that you have got something to do with ChatGPT. It's not necessary. If it is
Right.
necessary, by all means, do it. Yeah. And the second point on the back end, which also I will keep talking about all the time, is that you are not thought about, and I say this advisedly, that almost every fintech entrepreneur that I have spoken to in last 6 months, you are not thought about the compliance implications of ChatGPT on your product. So please do that before you release any ChatGPT empowered version of your product.
Right.
Because the problem, Wayne, is as usual, if you look at regulations today, like, whatever, financial regulations, banking regulations, pharma regulations, they're not using the word ChatGPT or artificial intelligence in their regulatory language. They are saying what they have been saying for last, whatever, 10, 20, 50 years. But what will happen? New risks will come as people start implementing ChatGPT based kind of solutions. They will look great, but who is the basic data cycle, Wayne? Who is having your data? Who is capturing it? Who is storing it? Where it is being stored? Who is responsible for that storage? All those questions will have to be answered. If not today, then in the 2024 or 2025 audit cycle.
Right.
And if a lot of work you are done by that time without having a good answer, then you are going to suffer a lot.
Right.
These are two things, Wayne, I will say for your fintech friends.
No, we appreciate this information that you shared, Buck, and we appreciate that having some time to kind of talk about this. And that, in our weeks to come, some of the feedback that we have been receiving are the audience wanting to talk about these type of topics. And we're gonna look forward to really kind of staying in the intersection on where technology kind of trends and what the industry needs to be aware of so they can start making some decisions. Because if you don't make decisions now of how you want to get involved and how you want to lean in, when the technology continues to evolve and you're not a part of the conversation, a part of the situation, it could put you in a bad situation. Just if those who are founders, those who are engaged from a resource perspective and a talent perspective, it's just kind of good to know where things are trending. I think it can't hurt by people being aware of this.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT is here to stay compared to many other cycles that we have seen. But if you use it without adequate thought to your front end functionality and back end compliance, then it is something that may come back to bite you very, very seriously.
Buck, as always, this information is really timely. Certainly appreciated. Looking for the next opportunity that we can chat about this.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Wayne.
Thanks, Buck.